These are my lowering springs. As you can see, it should provide a 2-inch drop, which is probably just all I need right now. In this episode, I'm going to do a review on the True Heart lowering springs that I had installed on the RSX. So let's see what these springs are all about. Well, I got my package for my lowering spring, so now I could lower this car. As you can see, it's really high. I'm like 4x4 right now. So finally got the package for the True Heart lowering springs right here. Let's go check it out. But I figured I'd just get these springs because they were not that expensive, first of all, and this is still brand name. True Heart, still a brand name, and they dropped the car 2 inches, both front and rear. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how these springs goes. Okay, the car's finally lowered on True Heart Spring, so let's check it out and see how it is. Okay, so finally got the car lowered on True Heart Springs. Had it done over at Sub-Zero. I gotta be honest though, when I finally got the car back, I kind of had mixed feelings about the results because to me it felt like the front looks higher than the rear. Looks like there's more gap. No, when I purchased the springs, it said 2 inches in the front, 2 inches in the back as far as drop. But I didn't realize that meant that maybe it would be lower on the rear, because I did my research on the RSX and found out that for some reason the rear fender goes lower than the front. So it's natural that if you have an even drop that it would actually look, visually would look lower on the rear than the front. What I should have done is I should have purchased one of those springs where it was just 1.8 or so drop on the back, so that it would kind of look like it would even out visually. But I didn't think about that. I didn't really know that's how it is with these cars. And plus I haven't really gotten springs for forever, since day one, since I had my RX-7 back in the days. So no, with all the cars that I've had, with the Evo, with the FRS, with the MR2, all those cars had coilovers. So if I had any issue as far as the drop height, or if it looked uneven, I could just adjust it. I could just go as low as I want to, or if it's too low, I could just raise it back up. or make the rear higher or lower, depending on how it looks. So with these springs, I didn't really know that it was going to be like this. So I'm still kind of getting used to the way it looks. It did look like it dropped a little bit on the front a day after I got it back, but I'm still trying to get used to it. It's still, to me, it seems like there's still a little bit more gap in the front. But though it said that it's supposed to be normal for that to happen because there's supposed to be more room for the front, it's supposed to be just like that. But I don't know, I'm still trying to get used to it. It's not as bad as day one, but we'll just see. I'm not used to these springs. This is really more for visual, and hopefully it also feels a little bit stiffer. We'll see how it rides. But it's not like the FRS where I had coilovers, I had strut bars, sway bars, all types of suspension aftermarket parts, because that was a track car. So it was a different purpose from the RSX, which is really just going to be a daily for me. Same thing with my Evo. That was kind of a track car / daily as well. Also had coilovers. Again, I'm just experimenting. I'm just trying to see how it is with these springs. And, I'm trying to make this review for you guys because I haven't really seen any on YouTube or anywhere else as far as the True Heart springs. It probably would have worked better if I had shocks too that go with the springs. Then it would probably be better. But just because I got the springs, and I'm not really sure if a lot of people have used these springs in particular. So I'm just making this review to kind of let you guys know how I feel about it. Even though this is a daily, I still kind of want to have that look, where it's kind of even. And so right now I'm still kind of on the fence whether, I'm really satisfied with it. But again, you kind of get what you pay for. It's under $20 as opposed to spending $500-600 for, or even more for coilovers. So you guys just decide what you want to do. But I think if I had to do it all over again, I still don't know. So right now I'm just kind of feeling it out. It still takes some getting used to because I'm used to just having everything equal. And if I'm not satisfied with the height, I could just adjust it. With springs, you're kind of stuck with it, right? But yeah, so that's pretty much how it looks right now. Right here, it looks like there's more of a 2-finger gap I could see from here, as opposed to here, it's more like maybe almost a finger gap. So it just feels like it's just so much more higher. Well, not much more higher, but obviously a little higher on the front than the rear. So you just kind of I just gotta kind of get used to it and see if I'll be okay with that. So again, this is like my daily driver, right? I'm not really worried about spending too much on the car. Actually, I'm not even supposed to add all these things. But this car is really just gonna take the place of my GTI, where I'm gonna drive it around, when I go work out, competitions, stuff like that, go where I need to go. Obviously, because I have more than one car, that's why I don't really put miles on any of my cars. But this will still be considered a daily compared to, like, say, the Evo or the FRS or the MR2 and stuff like that. It would be more like the GTI, where I drive it wherever I want to drive it and not worry so much about it, because that's really what this car is about right here. Oh, by the way, right here, see, right now I just put the regular lugs, the lug nuts, because I just kind of wanted to test out how that looks. As far as it's not as fancy as the Neochrome, but at least it has like a wheel lock. It has the wheel lock that I could use. The neochromes, anyone can just basically take my lug nuts if they wanted to, but so that's the thing, you know. So these are the neochromes, right? From DNA Motoring, and the thing about these neochromes, they're okay, you know, they're okay, but the thing is they're kind of soft and fragile, you know. Yeah, I don't even torque them that much, but yeah, they're kind of fragile. You can see right there. So I barely torque them, but you know, I don't know. I gotta see if I wanna. I could obviously put them back on, but that's why I have the regular lugs right now, just to kind of give it a different look, you know, to see how it is. So, but usually I'd have these on neochromes, but or I use these black ones right now. So, like with my FRS, obviously it was much lower than this car, and you know, I had coilovers, so I was able to adjust it as low as I want to, and if it was too low, I could raise it back up, and it had a very stiff ride, you know. But that car had more stuff in it. I mean, it had the sway bars, the strut bars and everything, so it had a full suspension, whereas this is just springs, you know, just more aesthetics than anything else, you know. Same thing with the Evo. The Evo also had coilovers on it, so I was able to lower it as much as I wanted to, and I could you know, even it out. So I never had any issues as far as the front being higher than the rear. And GTI is the same. The GTI though was so low as far as this. I mean, that car, the only reason I was able to drive the GTI the way I did was because I didn't have a body kit on that car. So I was able to really lower that car. But, you know, different purposes for different cars. Okay, so now that we have the True Heart springs on this car, let's see how it feels. Let's see how it drives. So, I mean, it's not super low, so I don't feel like it's really that bad, you know? I just want to see if it's going to be bumpy when I drive this car. See if there's a big difference between stock springs and these True Heart springs, if you will. So. Feel that bouncy, so I thought it would be bouncier. I heard like stories about people who put lowering springs in, the car just becomes really bouncy. Even when I had the stock springs, it was already bouncy. So It's not much difference with the true hard springs. I've always had like coilovers for all my cars, you know, Evo, FRS, S2000, MR2. So I don't really know how it feels to have springs, and now that I have it installed for the RSX, it's not that bad considering, you know, it's not going to be a track car or anything like that, and it's just going to be daily driving duty for the Type S, and we'll see. I haven't really hit any major bumps, so, but I don't really think it's going to be a big deal. So the verdict on these true heart lowering springs is that if you're okay with the 2-inch drop on the rear and the front, and you can't really tell the difference between how low the front is compared to the rear, then it's okay. It's okay if it's just a daily driver. And for the RSX, it doesn't really change the way it feels. It's still, you know, a little bouncy, but not super bouncy. And you won't really notice much if you're not going too crazy on the corners, and you don't really hit like major bumps. So that's all I could say about the drivability of these springs. If, you know, if I start driving more and I start hitting more bumps later on, I'll let you guys know. But for now, I would say that, yeah, it's okay for what it is. If you just want to save money and just pick a pair of springs, and you're okay with how it looks in terms of the 2-inch drop from the front and the rear. I've already discussed with you guys how I felt about it in terms of how it looks, but the way it drives, it should be all right. I would say maybe the muffler is a stock muffler. So, I mean, it's too quiet for me. You know, I'm not used to having a quiet car. Every car I had always had an exhaust. So I might take care of that in the future. You know, the exhaust and maybe the headers. I don't know. We'll see. So another thing that I might consider doing is maybe I might get a bigger spacer for the car, because it's not quite flush. I mean, maybe it won't matter so much because it's a daily driver, like I said. But if I have an opportunity to get a bigger spacer just to kind of just flush it out a little bit more, then maybe I'll do that. For right now, there's none in the front, and there's 5 mm in the rear. So we'll see if I can get at least a 10 millimeter in the rear and maybe 5 in the front or something like that to just kind of flush it out. So spacers for that car. See, you can see the spacer in here, right there. Well, but so it's not flushed out yet, you can see. But yeah, so definitely a spacer maybe. Another thing I'm gonna do, and I already got this. I got the delete for the windshield wiper, so I'm gonna take this thing out. Okay, I'm gonna take this thing out and just close it out because I don't really need this. Maybe I'm gonna change a shift knob. I could do that too. And as far as the ECU, I'm still thinking about that because that's like a big ticket item. I don't really want to do anything major on this car because it's just my daily. But if there's a deal along the way, then you know, I'll think about it. Maybe if I wanted to. But other than that, I'm just gonna kind of leave it alone, and then we'll see how it goes. Yeah, like I said, you know, this car is, you know, really just a daily driver that I'm gonna enjoy. So whatever mods that I choose for this car is really based more on sort of a minimalist approach, or you could call it whatever you want and call it sort of a budget approach, or a minimalist approach, or just a daily driver approach, because I'm not going to track this car. It's not a show car like the MR2 where I went all out, obviously. and it's not even stage 2 like the GTI was. So this car is just plainly, like I've shown you guys, is going to be a car that I drive around, take my stuff, go work out, do my training, go to competitions, and work or whatever, and just enjoy the car for what it is. So I'm just going to maintain the value of a sort of vintage JDM RSX and keep it at the low miles and just enjoy it. What is it you really want to do with your car? If you're going to track it, I suggest getting coilovers. If you're just going to daily drive it, then just do your research, make sure you're going to be happy with the height and how low it's going to be, or if it's going to be low enough for you guys. So that's it. Till next time, see you guys.